For me, but that's okay.
Keeping my distance.
Go sit down.
Yeah.
Oh, we got 1 minute here, so let's think.
No, we don't. It's not.
No, I'm gonna fix that thought.
I think it's fixed, we're
No,
pretty
it's-
close.
No, it's.
Oh,
Within
it's
a minute
minute
or
off.
two.
It's-
It's not.
Get us there.
Have your attention, I'd like to call to order the Personnel Committee meeting of the Washington County Board of Supervisors on this 10th day of July 2025.
Sure.
I'm sure. Only because I got it printed, that's the only reason. Okay, next would be accepting of the minutes. I have a motion to accept the minutes from the June 12th meeting date. You have a second. Charlie? Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, carried. Staffing. Anything else, please?
So we have a few backfills. First for county clerk DMV, the motor vehicle license clerk vacated June 18th due to a resignation. In social services, we had a part-time caseworker vacate June 16th due to a resignation, and a clerk vacated, actually this I missed, it was in February due to a promotion to a senior clerk.
What is a part-time caseworker? You show up when you wanna, or what?
Just make sure she's fine.
What's a part-time?
We designated those positions, probably within the last 2 years. Because it was a way that we thought we could help with our balance out the caseloads with the turnover that we were having. So when there were so many case workers that were going through training and could not handle cases, we had brought in people that had already been caseworkers for us and that wanted to still do work for us and who had some availability. It was like less than 20 hours a week.
Does it work, or?
It has been very helpful.
Okay. So you can usually get them, even though this one resigned? I think there's
We
another
do
one.
still have it, we have a total of 4, I think, on our schedule. And there maybe has been one time that we had all 4. It really depends on what else they're doing.
Or how low you are on the full-time ones. Whether you actually need them.
Well, yeah, but when they leave, we are only hiring people that have left us. And so
Right.
that's where did they go and are they available?
Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
We did have a couple staffing pattern title by grade asks from other committees, so real property. This was moved from government ops. It's a request for a staffing pattern change and a non-union title by grade addition, which would be to remove a currently vacant account clerk position and add one newly created real property tax clerk position. The grade would be grade 10 is what we're requesting. And we would have to add that also to the title by grade schedule at a grade 10 if you approve that position.
So moved.
Dave, for a second. Charlie, discussion, Ryan?
I know where the position is housed and usually there's nobody there. We can't keep one. I get that, but is it really a specialty position that requires an extra grade? I mean, I would almost think you could. This is a great starter position. You'd think for a high school kid that wanted to go to work, right out of school, is there any
Well,
reason
she
we can't?
wanted to add more duties to the position because of the, whatever, I don't know exactly what they do for the tax role.
It's the specific
Right.
duties that
That-
warranted the grade
Right.
increase in the title change.
Right, yeah, yeah. And to retain also.
Well, you can't retain what you haven't had, God.
But she's also finding that the account clerk title isn't really fitting the needs of the department and the duties that are being performed.
I think she explained that she was doing what would warrant a grade 10 responsibilities. That's what I believe she said.
So you went through and classified the position according to civil service law, correct?
Yes.
So we really don't have much choice. It's classified that way.
Well, I just wanna know how you're gonna make all these changes throughout the year. And then come to budget time and decide that, the 20% is too high and we're gonna make cuts, and now we're gonna do that. When we keep adding along, I guess I don't think. I don't know if I'm not getting through to how dire the situation is. I don't know. I can't say it anymore without you guys telling me I'm harsh, I'm bad, I'm whatever the hell I am. The reality is, the more months we go in, the less months you've got to save money. And that day is of reckoning is coming. And so don't be upset when that budget's sitting on your table and it doesn't suit your needs. That's the way it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't understand since and I'm gonna kind of echo what Brian said here. We know that we've got a large increase coming, and when you know that, there are a few steps you can take that aren't harsh, and one is no adjustments during the year. Put them in the budget time in there in next year's budget. Right now, we're growing next year's budget today, and you don't feel it today. That's what's nice for the breaking. But if you don't put your feet down soon, the horse is gonna be out of the barn. And on top of that, my question is, you're giving a raise technically to somebody because they're gonna do more work or the specifics. Are you still gonna have a vacancy there, and what's that vacancy gonna be? So you're eliminating a position?
Yes.
We're taking away the account clerk. And it would in the real property.
Well, then
tax
that's not
clerk
quite
would
so bad,
replace it.
Brian, if you're eliminating a position.
It's not quite so bad, but everybody in every department is gonna have a specialty position now that my person does more, so we should all have grade tax. That's how it works here. I don't know. if
Oh, I
anybody
know.
Realizes that.
I recall the discussion, Miranda had with this committee.
Yeah.
They essentially had their clerk out there working out of title, and they're doing all this. Extra work and like that, that was one of the problems. They leave there and go to the account clerk, yeah, but it's more account. Well, more especially, I think that's how it was presented, as I recall.
You're gonna hear a lot of those claims over the next year and a half now, because it's gonna start now and it's gonna continue after all the cuts and all the changes that happen over the next year. I mean, you're gonna hear that. Well, this person's special and they need this. It's
They literally had wanted, teach them, train them to do stuff that probably was way beyond what the account clerk should be doing. I don't see the account clerk sitting in that real property.
There's nobody sitting in real property.
Well,
We have-
exactly, because we're making them do all kinds of stuff. And so now all we've got, we're essentially, using a hell of a lot more expensive titles to go and try and pick up that work.
Are they paying overtime to them? I mean, if they're not paying overtime, they just have work to do, and it doesn't matter. So I don't know if that's a real good argument.
That's all you care about. How much you're paying them. Maybe that's all you care about.
Well, no, I want them to be busy, and if you're not paying them overtime and they're able to get it done, why not have them doing work?
We got guys who've been doing a function, they're out there running answering. I think she made a pretty pervasive argument. You guys don't remember that. That's why it got passed on to here. I'm not trying.
so I think this is one that we need to move into finance and have that conversation in finance, Brian. Oh, yeah, then we're going to do that.
We're gonna move it.
Yep, gonna move to finance.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you, ourselves, yep. All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed, carried. So that was moving to finance, that moves us down to alternative sentencing.
So this would be a staffing pattern change to remove a senior program specialist and add a program specialist due to retirement, and we're backfilling with a lower level position.
What are the grades attached to this?
Well, second.
There are two great difference. That's the-
We're going the opposite, but this is going the opposite direction of the other.
Yeah,
Correct, okay. This is more than balancing off the
Yeah, these are
real
higher.
property.
Gap is bigger in dollar.
I usually.
It doesn't really, because they all come back.
So-
That's kind of a nice ploy to change
I
things
like that
around.
right here.
We don't have a motion.
No, we don't.
Um,
Moved by Brian, the second, seconded by Jay and Dave. And Charles?
So
Any
this
discussion?
probably won't go to finance because it's a saving, but when we bring something to finance, that when I discuss the financial impact, we also be looking at things that are bringing us benefit. If we've got problems, no question about it. But if we're whack-a-mole and only things that pop up and not looking at things that pop down, we're gonna make more rash decisions.
No, I think the explanation on that is, this is a feel, whenever we do this, it feels good. But eventually they're right back to where they were. It's not like they don't go right back, because that's just, as they learn, they get moved up.
But it takes.
And so for
takes a
the
few
instant,
years.
well,
Right.
or a few seconds, you never can tell here.
Well, that, each of those has to move to either personnel or personnel and finance.
Yeah.
Well, this one doesn't have to go to finance, but it does have to go to the full board.
Yes.
But just because it's a change.
That's
doesn't have
what
to-
it's asking generally, when we get things in finance, looking at kind of negative stuff.
Staffing pattern, does that have to?
No, I'm not arguing with you, I just thought it out.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, this has nothing to do with any resolution, but I'm trying to understand the before where this, and real property. If you have a position that's vacant and you want to change that position, eliminate it, basically, but you're changing it from account clerk to,
Real property tax clerk.
right. So it's still vacant. So now you're gonna hire somebody for that position, or they're gonna be a promotion within.
No, there's nobody
There's
there,
nobody there.
right?
Right,
Nobody-
nobody,
nobody
or
in that
nobody
position.
to be able to
Okay,
promote to
so
that.
you're just
position.
saying, basically, you're saying you gotta raise the salary to get somebody there.
And they're getting additional duties along with.
Well, but if
But
it's
still.
vacant, there are no duties right now,
Yeah.
if it's nobody's there.
Right, somebody's got to catch up there.
I understand now, this makes sense, we're just raising the salary to get somebody to willing to take the job.
Well, and they're giving additional job responsibilities with it, that somebody's that's probably not.
Well, it's the same
getting-
responsibilities as always, they've just titled it different.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
problem is the account clerk was doing stuff that wasn't in their account clerk.
Yes.
It was-
Right, but it was the same work that we're still hiring for.
Right, but it
Right.
wasn't in the duties of the account clerk. This is more appropriate being a property tax clerk, which describes what the person was doing. Or the position was doing, not the person. I'll move it to the.
Board, full board.
Yeah.
For a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Moves us to other business, handbook changes.
So we do have a few handbook changes and they're in your packet. The first one would be, the safety section. And also I'll do both at the same time, actually, safety and then the mileage reimbursement. So these changes were due to the vehicle, policy that was changed, so most information went over to the vehicle policy, the vehicle use policy, so we wanted to remove a lot of the information in the handbook to make it more clear and a little simpler, easier to understand. And also with the vehicle use policy, most of that information went over into that, so. And that's the section 6.001 and 6.007.
Yeah,
What?
we just discussed it with Melissa, and I'm sorry if I don't remember. The employee in previously, and it may still be in here, I'm sorry, I didn't read it. It allowed for the reimbursement of mileage of a personal vehicle for travel outside of the county. We've had some discussions about encouraging at least the ability to use your personal vehicle within the county. We talked about a couple of specific departments, but in order to take a really good look at our carpool and fleet, there were several conversations about, at least opening up the ability for employees to do the reimbursement even within the county. Did we get that language change, or is that still under discussion? Do you remember?
It's still under discussion.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to kind of follow up with that.
Yeah,
And the safety part is being removed, that because we don't do the defensive driving, don't care about the defensive driving, or it's just not available, but. I mean, 'cause I think,
We haven't offered defensive driving classes. in
so that's
several
why it's
years.
just not available.
Just offered the first one, I believe, this last year. But that's the first time since I've been here. The county used to offer it, and that was basically because offering the class used to give us a deduction or reduction on the insurance.
That's it.
Then we found out it didn't anymore. Budget cuts several years ago stopped all that. But I know we did offer one last year. To employees, that was the first one in a while. But it's not something we do annually.
I mean, it's interesting to take something out that tells you to wear a seatbelt and things like that. It's like,
Well, I think it's in the vehicle policy, so it's kind of redundant.
just
It is.
redundant. Okay, as long as that's the case, that's
There's
fine.
the general rule.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping we weren't taking that away. As long as it's just redundant.
So, as long as Al brought it up, should we, discuss whether it's in or out, any vehicle use in or out of the county or?
If you were to read it just as face value, I would interpret that as just as mileage reimbursement for the use of a personal vehicle for work-related travel must be approved by. It doesn't say one way or the other.
Yep.
So I think that would cover both.
Yep.
It should, yeah.
Dan, you agree with that?
I would agree.
I get this smile. That's great. I'll take, hey, small victories, man. I'll take them every time.
You're gonna give us any information, later that's gonna make us smile.
May take a smile off your face.
Stand by.
I'm afraid, okay.
I would move the new language, I guess, if that.
Yeah.
Yes. We have a motion.
Second.
Brian, we have a second. Dave and Charles, any more discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, carried.
The next section was 7.021. It was the emergency response leave with pay for volunteer firefighters. We did have this at last personnel meeting, and I did add a paragraph to add the documentation for verification from an officer in charge from a fire department or the firefighter that was on duty. So within the 48 hours or 2 days, and if employee must submit that to their department head. And if you're okay with that language, that was all that was added.
Move it. Second.
That's every day. I just have a discussion as I certainly support this, but we do have first responders from fire departments that go out for ambulance services, all right? So we also have EMS squads that go out for ambulance services. They have the first responders that do we need to do something with the EMS aspect of this? I guess is my question. And I never gave that a thought until I was just reading this again today. So is it, are they considered a volunteer firefighter and first responders and they go out to do medical first response? Is that different than fighting a fire? I'm just.
No, I think I'd pass it the way it is and then relook at it and see if we had to change it for EMS. Cause I think it should include both, but I don't know
No,
that.
the law only
Sure.
pertains to the firefighters, but of course, if you want to give above and beyond.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we wanna, I think we should look at that and bring it back.
I guess that's my point, Melissa.
Because sometimes that's more important than the firefighter, cause there isn't a fire, but there's an EMS person that really needs to get there as quick as they can.
Unless you have a fire.
No, but I mean, sometimes there is no fire and the first responder has
First
to get there,
responder goes out, who is a fireman?
right?
All right,
Oh, yeah, you can offer more than the laws, telling if we need to, certainly.
But I think I'd pass it the way it is and bring that language back if we're gonna amend it. I think to do it right, I wouldn't wanna
okay,
have.
I agree with that.
I agree.
But you guys comfortable with that, Charles? You comfortable with that?
Doesn't it read that if the fire department has a call? Doesn't say, we're not talking about necessarily being on fire. Risk responders are often the fire department, 20-30 minutes for the ambulance. We
Right,
don't need 10 people, but we usually have an EMT or something with us,
right.
getting everybody feeling good and not worried.
And I guess, and that's the point I'm trying to make. So we have those that go out from the fire department, first responders, mainly to do first aid or just to stable the situation until the EMS people get there. That's, I'm trying to, okay,
It
just,
would be pretty unlikely for them to get there first, given if they're after work and they get the call.
if,
Because the local fire guys are always there first.
and I'm just looking at it from 40 years perspective.
That's it's right there,
I don't
yeah.
have allowed them to get there first.
Yeah, question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't see your hand up.
Aren't we purchasing a rapid response vehicle from here for EMTs?
Well, what we get,
Safety.
yeah,
So
yes,
Maybe that will alleviate.
Yeah, maybe you'll find a way to tie that all in
Yeah.
the same law.
So we don't have to have
So,
employees here leaving for EMT duties. We already have people that are assigned to that vehicle.
Yeah. well, we don't have. This doesn't necessarily cover just people from here. We've got them from like the fire department members in Hartford, fire department members in 40 N, county employees that work out of 40 N, they work out of, you know, this Jackson, they work out of.
yeah, like people out of Cambridge, this is way.
Yeah, so,
Well, this statement here too, it does say prior to them coming to work. So I mean, I guess it would
Yeah.
make sense in that sense too.
So
I'm certainly supportive. I'm not trying to, you know,
Either.
shut this down anyway. I just want to make sure that we're covering what we need to cover, that's all.
So I don't know if all EMS squads work like this, but don't they have people on call at the station? Don't most of them have paid?
Some of them, well, it's according to the situation. Some are in better shape than others. Some have trouble getting somebody to just show up when there's a call.
And I thought they had, most of them had someone during the day and they relied on-call people at night.
There's just
Some
some.
do, but if the call comes
Yeah.
in, they normally send out for the first responders. Whether it be from the fire department, normally where the first responders come from.
So that's covered here.
Yeah.
Okay, that volunteer fire and first responders is covered. It's EMT squads that we're talking about.
Well, it's gonna both, because my question was, they're firefighters. But they're not going out to fight a fire, they're going out to treat something other than that.
Right,
That's,
because it says a mutual aid, it doesn't count and the things like that. Oh, yeah, I see where he's coming from. But we'd have to go back and somebody'd have to write that a lot better than we would amend it today, I guess is what I'm thinking.
so we'll take what
we got.
let's go with this one and
But not,
then we'll.
but not, see what on
So we're
it,
good.
yeah. Yeah, so
We'll do some research on it,
All right,
make sure it's right.
so I think we had a motion, we had a second. Is there any discussion further? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Is there anything else to come before the personnel committee at this point in time? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourned.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dave. We're adjourned.
accept the minutes, moved by Dave, second by Sam, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Budget amendments, or no, treasurer first,
So we go on here, Nick, from Al, bad news, just put your earplugs on.
I'm going to give you the most precious gift this morning.
So, Brian,
And you can thank our wonderful information technology gods, because we are slaves to the computers now. Our financial system went down. I'm unable to print out any reports for you.
And no news is good news, so we're perfect.
The sales tax,
no news is no news.
The
Period.
bill-
End of story.
the sales tax is exactly the same as what I handed out on the first. So, what I will do though, is I will send out to you by email, as soon as the system is up and running again, the budget to actual report that you normally get, because this time of year becomes more and more important to see how we're doing. And if I can put any kind of narrative with it, I will, but I will make sure you still get the report. But right now, you have a reprieve.
Does that mean something? Does that mean the news is so bad it blew up the system?
I think that it was such a wonderful morning, Dave, that even the IT servers didn't want to come to work.
Give it an upgrade.
So the good news is we're going to we'll be transitioning to the cloud. Terry's been talking to me about it, and Nora will actually be hosted by the vendor and not by us. So it's great. What's great about that is you'll get a lot of, you always have the most current version, and you won't have to have the investment in the infrastructure internally. So stay tuned for more on that from Terry.
And it's a lot easier to attach to the cloud when it's really big, black and bright over a building. And it's pretty close right now.
And honestly, you joke a little bit, but in the event that we ever do have
Oh,
a
absolutely.
natural disaster, the discovery part of it, the DR or whatever they call it. Disaster recovery is part of it. If God forbid there was a disaster here and we had to relocate, the cloud would allow me to operate our financial system from, almost anywhere in the world. So
I think we all can relate, because just like your phone, when you go get a new phone, they download everything, you plug it in, you got everything you had on a new phone. It's the same idea. So it's pretty nice.
So your good news this morning is I can't deliver bad news.
I'll call that good news.
But isn't that less bad news is not good news?
The less bad news is not good news.
The suspense is still killing.
The truth will kill you as well. You should still get them today.
Okay, county attorney, outside litigation.
Well, actually, I got the closeout projects first, but you're A through.
Oh, that's under the treasurer. I thought he was done.
You were just hoping.
I was.
So, another thing that makes me smile, so that's like 3 smiles on the road today.
Yeah.
Getting some of these capital projects off our books is very self-serving for me, because they're just nuisance, especially once they're just there and dormant. So the next 5 resolutions or so are clearing off some of the old projects that are done, and the residual monies can go back to their funding fund. So A is the fire training center. The only note that I want to give you about A, what we're doing is we're taking the almost $71,000 of residual money in the project. We're moving it to the general fund contingency. Because the deal that we made, if you remember, at public safety was, so the director and deputy director's concerns were, well, we're still kind of doing things at that center. What happens if we have a capital request? Their budget's set up to handle all the operating expenses. But if there's a capital improvement, or they want to start phase 2 of the project, the expansion part. So what we did is we put it in contingency, so that the director and the deputy director could come back to public safety should there be an actual project. And then you could just pull it from contingency. And should that project be in 26, you would just pull it from fund balance. So the only footnote to resolution A is we kind of set the money aside in case there is an expansion this year.
Okay, motion. Moved by Jay, second by Sue.
Yes, for the question. With Warren County, do they have to do anything with it?
No, because I don't know that they even have it on their books. So they've kind of moved into the operational phase already as well, as my understanding.
Yes.
And I think it's probably been 10 years since we've been in a phase at all. We're in a daze instead of a phase.
And we kept.
I can't remember where it is.
We kept leaving it open under the, well, wait, we're gonna do something, well, wait, we're gonna do something, and they're just.
Yeah, the road crew in one time, I see they cleared it out a couple years ago, but I haven't been back to what. Okay,
I haven't seen the gate open here.
yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
Resolution B is to close county route, the capital project, County Route 10 over the Palmy River.
So moved. By Dave, second by Jay, discussion.
That residual money will go back to the county road fund.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
B is to close the capital project for the bridge preservation projects. All the ones that we were awarded have been completed, and there's 23 holdouts left.
So moved. By Dave, second by Sue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Carried.
Those of you that were at Public Works know that we're also closing the capital project number 124, which is also known as Florida Route 1A. That's a project that just never got across the finish line in its funding. So we're now, conceding that it's not going to be funded at this time. And those residual monies will move back to the sewer district's capital reserve until such time as they take a look at it again.
So moved.
Second by Sam, by Dave. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We need to close 127, which is the Church Street Bridge in Granville. That's all done and wrapped up. There's 1,800 whole bucks left over.
So moved.
By Dave, second by Sam, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Brian, it's one discussion. They were talking about that Third Street Bridge when we came on.
Well, yeah, it was still hooked to the house back then.
We did two.
We've been.
We did two.
There wasn't a house, there was a bar.
Yeah,
there.
that Third Street Bridge.
Gilbert's Bar.
It had been turned into a house. Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you. County attorney, we're now in you.
Yes, Al and I did meet after government ops, here that is funding line that we're potentially looking at might still be necessary for him as. His costs are a little bit higher at this time of year than what they normally are. So at this point in time, I believe the 18,000 covers litigation costs. And most of this is related to, and pretty much all of it would be to cover the
Still my fault.
tax foreclosure. For the current tax foreclosure litigation.
Motion. Moved by Dave, second by Sam. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Order here. DFS is next. G is DSS for secure detention transportation requirements. Well, second. Any discussion?
Right, is. Commissioners, is this where you need to discuss the additional money, or is that separate from?
I had provided that for consideration, speaking of it, that there was the additional bill.
Okay, so I think this number is changing, Brian, right, based on Commissioner.
Okay.
It needs to be someplace else where it's come from as well.
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
There needs to be designation of the account that it was pulled from.
Right, I think we're going to just have fund balance for that additional money at this time. I could pull up her email if you want the numbers. Or contingency, yeah. Do you remember the,
It's $29,359.33.
so we'll just make this resolution 55,000. And we'll pull 30 of it from fund balance. Does that work for you, Brian?
Works for me.
Amend it, 55,000. Correct,
You need a motion to amend.
so motion.
Motion by Charlie, or second by Charlie. By Dave, is that right? Okay, voting on the amendment, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, take to the full resolution
As amended.
as amended. Moved by Sam,
Well, no.
or it's already
Just need
been,
to vote on it.
yeah, just need to vote on, it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. H. New cost reporting, Department of Social Services.
I truly hope that this resolution ends up being a benefit for the budget officer, the board, and the department. I hope this is a win.
Yeah.
I hope this is a win across the board.
Motion? Moved by Sam. Second by Dana. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I do want to thank the commissioner and her team for working with me on this. They put a lot of work in this, so thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Resolution I, Department of Social Services pilot review of DSS operations. Any motion? So moved by Dave, second by Dana Hogan. Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? J, authorize the chairman of the board to sign the amendment to the 2024-2029 municipal snow and ice agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Dave, second by Sam. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here. K is to create the capital project number 141 sewer district number 2 process control and administration project.
Move.
Moved by Dave, second by Sam. Any discussion?
So I told the group at our pre-finance meeting that the PCAP building was actually the acronym for Please Keep Al Busy. So
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
I guess I told keep with a C.
And L is the upgrade in real property. Need a motion for that? So moved by Dave, second by Sam. My discussion, Miranda, was that we've made it like it's a special real property account clerk. And I just foresee that every department's gonna come, that they need a special account clerk. That's what happens here. So that was my concern. So I wasn't necessarily supportive, but they got moved here, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I have all the list of like what a typical account clerk does versus what this position does. And without somebody in that clerk position, it's like our whole office is trying to operate with one arm tied behind our back. Since I've been here, I've probably I've been here just over a year. Here in a couple months, like I've only had a clerk for about 6 months of that. So it's just, and one other 80 hour a week person in my office. Everyone else is 35-hour work week. And I have a part-time clerk, so I really need, somebody to come in and actually stay in that position, a little more incentive. Because, last year we got behind on doing transfers, like property transfers, stuff like that, just because it's a ton of people that come into our office that needs to be processed on top of everything else. So, but if you need anything to back it up, don't hesitate to
discussion?
have sheets and sheets of stuff.
Any discussion?
I appreciate it.
All fair say aye. Aye. And opposed? Carried. Other
Thank you.
question, how's everything going in Salem? You getting done?
Salem's basically wrapped up. Yeah, we're not doing really anything else for them. We got their grievance. If small claims comes up before they appoint somebody and then we'll handle that, but at this point they're not. Couple weeks, last week or the week before, Lindsay and I went out to Salem to look at a couple of properties that were county owned. That we owned out from the county that are gonna be going on the tax roll, so. Typically we'll get a lot of questions on those, on what's on the, the tax sale. So we are kind of trying to make an effort to just get our eyes on some of them over the next couple of months, just so when people call us, we have some sort of knowledge about what's going on.
Tell us, but I can't
The one with the food truck on it?
remember.
Wasn't that one in Cambridge?
Yeah.
I think it was Cambridge, that there's a food truck on the corner, so it was
I sent a letter for it to be moved. I don't know if it was. Or wasn't.
So basically in a couple, probably right after the tax sale happens, I talked to Al about sitting down with him and seeing like. Taking a look at all the properties that we own and the ones that. You know, we can get rid of. And start moving towards that
Well, I think
process
there
based
was-
off of what doesn't get sold and.
Yeah,
the
well, there was
correct
one,
process.
the former supervisor brought to me that is like,
Jimmy Griffith.
yes, is that the same one? Or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had the same property.
So basically, the person owns the center of it
Right.
and the surrounding property next to the road is owned by the county. It just puts us in a liability position, with food truck on it, so we wanna sit down and review all these. And that starts with me getting familiar with all of them, seeing what doesn't sell, and then Al and I are gonna go through and kind of come up with a plan
Okay.
going forward with the rest of them.
Very good.
We just see turning a small non-taxable parcel into something taxable. It's a good idea.
Yeah, and we
Well, I
didn't
think-
want,
I
I
think-
just didn't want to drop off the table.
Yeah, no, as I said, I haven't had a chance to see, I sent the letter last week. I don't know if the truck got moved or not. I gave him something to go. Okay, good.
And then Al and I just didn't wanna do it before the tax sale, cause it's. Say these properties sell at the tax sale, then it's just time and effort sitting there and going through 50 properties instead of what's left over.
We lost sales tax for all summer. New truck.
Yeah, it's the only parking lot beside the farm, right?
Oh, as long as it's still operational, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Miranda, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, if it's-
We didn't take care of it. Very good, thank you.
Brian, can I follow up on the lead?
Yes,
I want to thank them for coming because, you know, there's 5 properties. And on one of them, county liability, it has become like a boat sailing part. So I reached out to who I thought was selling the boat. And it's not there anymore, so they either sold it or they gone away.
hopefully they sold the boat.
But that, again, those public facing county properties become anybody's land that wants to be there, you know, it's a problem.
And remind me, did Salem reimburse them for their work or when you were without an assessor? How did that end? I don't remember and I
We were
want
gonna have a committee meeting and talk about that, and then, you know, we talked about other areas that we helped other towns. And then that we never had that meeting, so I don't know where that's been left.
Okay. That's what I didn't know where it was left. That's why I was just asking. Well, everyone's here. to hear that.
But in the meantime, you look at, you know, we should bring together all the towns that county has helped. I mean, Hartford, we helped for roads. You know, we've helped other towns for other things that
And real property.
conversations never, you know, with when they didn't have road coverage.
Well, this is different, and this is why I'd say it's different. You would set aside money to pay an assessor that you don't longer have. Are you still paying the assessor even though you don't have?
Yeah, you've been there for 20 years. You know, and they do the right thing. You can't just say,
But you can't say it's just do the right thing to take care of your person. It's also doing the right thing to make sure the county's whole.
right, and I think it was a total of, what did we figure out, 8 hours?
So a lot of the stuff that we had to do for them, we do for all the other towns, we check their state owned land, we check all of the telecom stuff. We did just have to process all the exemptions, which took maybe a day for us to do. But at that point, it's grievance and sitting with the roll, and that was strictly on Lindsay's time. So.
So, if you want to have a committee meeting, I just think we need to be thoughtful and fair.
We want to be fair, that's all.
Well, I have a question, because if you're talking about having it and finding all these shared services, there's no way to quantify that stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
And Miranda, let me ask you, have you done anything for Kingsbury, with real property?
I mean, we check their special franchise, we check everything when they're.
You check the work when it comes in, but have you provided any assistance to Kingsbury in any capacity? Okay, so this is the issue I have with this stuff. If we just say, well, we share services, that stuff, it can't be quantified. We had this back with DPW about 10 years ago. You can't quantify this stuff. So the best way to do it is to figure out a time frame of the work that's done and reimburse the county for that time. It's the simplest, cleanest way. In the future, I guess I would recommend doing that.
I think what you're saying is worth considering, because I think as we go forward with IT, and we're looking at shared services with IT, and we've talked about it, that we do have to be fair at coming up with a maybe per diem or per hourly rate, so that the towns can access when they do have need. Whether it's IT or whether it's roads or whether it's tax or property tax, whether it's sewer district, whatever department we're talking about.
But can I ask you, so you said there were 8 hours of work to Salem, correct? Did
Yeah,
that include travel time back and forth?
no.
No, I mean, that's an hour trip. Somebody
It's out of
spot
way.
right here.
That's out of my.
It's on Lizzie's way. So, but here's the difference with that. This situation than us just like helping out for
I am
our
right.
people in assessor or whatever. Their assessor became like mentally incapacitated to do the job. And with the laws and the legalities of things, they can't just fire her. So we just for that, so we were trying to just get through. Because she just got to a point where she couldn't do the job anymore. And I know we talked in my department head evaluation about, next time I do it the same way, but just bring it to committee right after. If it was in an emergency situation. So it's like, I just wanna know how you guys want me to handle it going forward. If you want to sit down and come up with hours, whatever you guys need.
And appointments are up anyway in September, right?
Yep, so September, they have been looking for,
Cuban is going out, they approved I think they put the paper last night.
but typically, like, if an assessor says quits in March or February, instead of becomes so that they can't do the job, you would hire another assessor fairly quickly, to finish it out. This one was just kind of, it got to a point she couldn't do the job. So.
Just trying to catch up on all the loose ends before we get into budget.
So I think we should have a committee meeting to resolve that, because we don't want to have Miranda go through this again. But I think as we're doing it, I think we should look at a standard policy for shared services for towns, for other things besides just tax service.
We good? Thank you. Okay.
Sorry.
All we have is other businesses, all right? Good, any other? No other? Everybody good? Anything you want to discuss? Adjourned.